That'd be my luck. Like we go there on like a ghost hunt. I don't see ghosts. I don't see like a spooky apparition. I just get bitch slapped by like a floating hand or kicked in the groin by a floating leg. Just foot.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the 30th episode of Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal comedy podcast where we talk about all things spooky. I'm Taylor.
I'm Nick.
And we have recorded 30 episodes. How have we gotten here? How's it been this much time?
It's been a journey.
It started with a dream and a conversation around a campfire.
I thought it was a conversation around some beers and some cigars and...
Well, we had a campfire too.
Did we? I guess it was a bonfire.
Usually those things are going hand in hand with us.
That's true.
But through the trials and tribulations of starting up our own podcast and figuring out what we were going to talk about for 30 episodes, here we are. And we couldn't be happier to be hitting this milestone. When we started, we were like, what was this podcast going to be like when we hit 30 episodes, 50 episodes, 100 episodes? And now we are at 30 episodes, and it feels a little surreal that we've had this catalog.
That we've made it this far, yeah, and we're continuing to grow.
We've stayed semi-consistent. We've had some bumps in the road here and there, but all things considered, we've been showing up, man.
We're showing up. We're doing better than the guy who is not showing up.
The guy that's missing 100% of the shots he doesn't take.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
No, but it's been awesome so far. I'm glad with all the content that we put out there. I'm glad with the topics that we've discussed. I'm happy with actually really just everything that I've learned so far.
Yeah. I've enjoyed really digging into the episodes, and like the research is fun, but then actually bringing it to you and like just getting our stupid takes on it has been the best part.
Yeah. Kind of just, and like you said, putting our own take on it and just having it fun, like a grand old time. Yeah. This is therapeutic for me every week to get together and kind of just shoot.
It's always a good time to sit down and talk to your bud about spooky stuff.
Yeah, just weird shit you find on the internet.
If you don't do that with your friends, what are you doing?
Go out there right now. Find your friends.
Bring up the most random cryptid you can think of and ask them what their thoughts are on it.
Maybe not even a cryptid. Maybe like a paranormal spooky encounter with, I don't know, crazy conspiracy theories or haunted happenings.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Don't ask them about like their foot fungus.
Yeah.
That's not spooky. That's just weird.
That's weird. Kind of grody. I wouldn't do that. Go to Reddit if you're into that, I guess.
Yeah. But not here.
But not here.
No.
We don't talk about foot fungus. We talk about real spooky shit.
Now, if a ghost had a foot fungus, who knows? Maybe it might make it on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to it. well, we can talk about it later. We got to talk about it.
We'll just talk about that off air. Well, what has been your favorite episode that we've recorded in these 30 episodes? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, wow. There's been so many. I like the sea monster one that we recorded semi recently.
Yeah.
Because that's always been a cool topic of mine that I've always been interested in. Mothman was a fun episode.
A dummy thick Mothman.
It's funny, like we're at 30 episodes and we're still like so young and growing the show.
We are.
But I feel like there's probably things now that we've talked about that I've like completely forgot we even talked about it. Like even actually, 30 episodes.
It's funny. I actually went through our like backlog of episodes earlier today just to be like, what did we already record?
Yeah.
Just going back and then like listening to the early episodes, it's just like how I thought. I'm like, this is gonna sound awful.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be so bad.
I'm sure the first one, it's just like terrible. Yeah,
I was like, we were so young then. If you don't know, like if you're listening to a recent episode and you haven't listened to the beginning episodes, just maybe don't.
It's funny you say that. So Ben, like the guy that came and like replaced our windows, he was like listening to it and he was like, I've listened to like your first couple episodes and then compared it to like your more recent ones. Like you guys sound like you've gotten a lot better, you know, and which is like,
it's natural.
It's natural.
Like when we started, we had no idea what we were doing.
We had zero
some
clue.
Excel or USB microphones, had to download an audio interface, we recorded the first episode. This is a little sneak peek behind the camera, or behind the mic, I should say. We had to record the Jersey Devil episode about 4 times. Like, full disclosure, it was about 4 times.
4 takes on it to get it to right where we wanted to.
And even then, it was still
awful.
Not awful, but it was still for audio quality, yeah, it was pretty bad. But now we have a nice Focusrite audio interface and some
decent mics,
good mics, and a nice recording space and
semi workflow going.
And now I have a grasp of sound mixing and editing a little bit, and hopefully it sounds as good on your means of speaker as it does when I edit, because I sometimes I'll switch between like headphones, or I have a big party speaker that I'll just, because if I don't feel like wearing headphones, I'm not gonna.
You just play it on like the huge
speaker, and it's always, I'm like, okay, this is how it should sound. That sounds good. And I know not every speaker is the same, so it might sound better to me than it does to some people listening to it on their phones or whatever. But it's been a process, that I've really enjoyed digging into and finding out about. And getting better, like it's cool to be able to look back on episode 1 and being like, oh God, what were we doing? Like, we had no flow. We had no.
I need to go back and listen to like the first one.
Yeah,
compared to our.
We were finding our groove, and now that we've kind of found that groove, it's night and day difference. And if you stuck with us since episode 1, God love you. We could not be more appreciative that you stuck by our side.
And this is just episode 30. We'll be much better by, episode
60,
100, once we get to like our 100th episode.
At least that's the plan. The plan is to be professional podcasters by then.
And no longer
like the first 30 is just warm-ups.
That's true.
Now we're hitting the big time, baby.
Now we're in the big leagues.
We're down in the minors. We're getting to the show now.
Yeah, we're getting there. If you're listening to this now, bear witness. We're getting there.
Bear witness to our greatness.
Bear witness to our growth.
So we thought that it would be fun, instead of doing a topic of one specific thing and digging into research, if we just sat down, if you listen to our Thanksgiving episode where we kind of did a cryptid draft, we're kind of going to do that again. Only this time we're drafting haunted places. Some of our favorite haunted places, maybe what we think would be the best lineup of haunted places. Like if you were a ghost hunter and you had to put together your top 5 places that you wanted to go investigate, I feel like this is what we're getting. It's like a top 5 dream team.
Haunted happenings or haunted locations. Yeah.
Paranormal places. Spooky places.
Surreal places.
Things that'll make your ball hairs tingle.
If you don't have ball hairs, things that'll make your back hair tingle.
And you know what? It's just going to make you tingle.
Yeah. It'll give you
hair or no hair.
No hair, goosebumps. It'll give you the chills.
You ever hear people call them goose pimples?
I didn't know, and whoever does that should be tried and hanged, because that's too much. That's sadistic.
I'm in agreement with you. You hit the nail on the head there. Goose pimples? No.
Who the fuck?
I've heard people call them goose pimples before.
Is that like a Maryland thing? Or?
I don't know if it's a Maryland thing or it's like a Southern thing. Could be a Northern thing. I have no idea. I've heard them called goose pimples, and I don't like it.
I never knew that Marylanders apparently have an accent. I always thought.
I know, right? I know Baltimore has like an accent.
Well, yeah, Baltimore does.
Yeah.
like imagine when.
But I hear like another Marylander talk. I'm like, okay, you could be from anywhere.
Yeah, I don't hear the accent, but apparently, if a non-Marylander person is talking to us, they'd say we have like a distinct Maryland accent. The only thing I have for context was when there was like a video on YouTube about them different people speaking into Google.
Oh yeah,
hey Google,
tell me the stats on Joe Flacco.
How tall is Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
but I feel like that's definitely more of a Baltimore accent.
Well, Baltimore definitely.
It's that Baltimore accent. Han and
you. It's always like the you. Like, could you imagine? When they're like singing happy birthday and they get to the part, happy birthday, yeah. like that.
Good old Baltimore birthdays.
That Baltimore slang, that Baltimore twang. Yeah.
I need a Boston birthday song. That's what I need.
That'd be cool.
I'm trying to think of how that would sound. Anyways.
No.
So what do you say we get this party started?
Sure.
And we're going to draft our places. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go on the clock first? How do you want to do this, buddy?
I can go through my 5.
Well, no, we're going to go back and forth.
Okay, so how
I'll take one and you take one, or vice versa.
Okay.
If you want to do like a little bit of backstory or a little,
I'll give it. We'll just give like a little bit of tidbit,
a little nugget,
a little nug,
a little Easter egg,
a little Easter egg, a little gold,
a little tush push
nugget, a little vitamin of knowledge. Yeah, I got you. Okay, so we're gonna go from
like, think of this as like a draft. Like the NFL draft.
But like
your top one spot is the place you want to go to most, or you think is the most interesting haunted spot.
But are we starting from like the 5th, then the 4th, then the 3rd, then finishing off?
Oh no,
like
very good. We're starting with
top one.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
This is first round draft pick.
First round draft pick. Okay.
With the first pick of the 2025 Haunted Places Draft, Nicholas Wallace selects.
I'm going to go with Suicide Forest in Japan.
Suicide Forest.
I'm probably going to butcher this, but Akigahara, or otherwise known for in Western.
Just keep it simple.
Suicide Forest in Japan. It is located in the dense forest at the base of Mount Fuji. It is often known for its eerie silence, its magnetic anomalies, and of course, a very tragic history. For any of you who have heard of it, it is a location where a substantial amount of suicide, like bodies, have been found because people just go there to like off themselves, and it's very common that you'll pull into the parking lot and you'll see cars that are parked that are just like covered in dust and debris because they've been sitting there for weeks.
Yeah.
And search parties will go up there and they'll find like tents and like remains of people who just go up there and like, kill themselves. There's no specific reason, or it's not really understood as to why this location kind of attracts that kind of, activity there. It's said to be haunted by eerie, restless spirits. Visitors report being watched, feelings of intense despair, and losing their sense of direction. Disorienting paths and compasses fail due to volcanic iron, so people who go in there easily get lost because it's very difficult for find like a true point for them to get out of there. So they get disoriented pretty easily.
So if you have a compass and you walk in there, the volcanic ash.
The iron and like the grass, supposedly it'll like kind of make the compass go, haywire. And
you can't find your way back out.
You can't really use it. I'm going to also venture to guess that signal in there and deep in the forest probably isn't that good.
Well, yeah.
So.
But I mean, a good old fashioned compass just should work regardless.
You would think.
But it's the spooky ghost keeping it from working.
It is allegedly linked to the concept known as ubusate or Ubasute, which is the abandonment of the elderly. In the media, it was featured in the film The Forest in 2016. I think that was the film. I think that's what it was called. And basically, it's, her brother like goes missing in the forest, so she goes to find him, and then all the demons and the ghosts are like fucking with her mentally, and she's trying to figure out what's real versus what's not real. She's like sleeping in a tent. She sees like shadows walking outside and hears voices and shit.
Spooky.
But that place, it's gotten a lot of notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you can go there, and there was an episode, Unexplained, William Shatner, the episode about evil places. That's one of the places he talks about in there.
Yeah.
They think it's because so much negativity has happened there that it's pretty much just become like a magnet for dark energy.
That seems to be the theme with places like that. Like we just talked about Lep Castle. Like
basically, yeah, it's just like a lot of just fucked up shit that has gone down there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see like rope. So I think the idea is that sometimes people, they're kind of on the fence about, committing suicide. They're still, in that dark place where they're, they haven't really made that decision, which is a good thing because then there's like a chance for them to kind of come out of that mental state.
But on the flip side, there's so much negative energy there.
True.
If you're a believer in that kind of thing, it could influence you to.
True, kind of push you over the edge.
Yeah.
We always want to practice caution, if you call like the suicide hotline, if you're ever feeling suicidal, reach out to the resources that are available to you. They'll go in there with ropes, and they'll kind of like tie a rope to, where they're entering. In case they change their mind, they can find their way back out.
Oh, okay.
Is something that I've seen before.
That's interesting.
But on the flip side of it though, the search parties that go in there, when they find a rope, they're like, oh shit. So then that's pretty common that they follow the rope and then they find the remains.
They find the body.
Yeah. It's like, so it's unfortunate, but definitely probably like my number one spot of like haunted it attracts people from all over the world. What's his face? The freaking who's that YouTube jackass?
Logan Paul.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
Yeah. I never understood why like they had so much beef with because he's a WWE star now. He's a wrestler now.
Was it Logan or was it?
It might have been both
Jake.
But Logan's the one that
one of the Paul brothers. Yeah,
and because he's a WWE star now, and they did like a Japan tour, and he didn't go. He's like, I don't think I'm really invited back to Japan. I don't know what he did, but I know he went to the forest. Did he just make like a...
No, he found a body and he filmed like the body. He was like, like fucking with a body on like camera. It was like, he? The body was blurred out. You couldn't see it, but like he still was like making a video and kind of like poking at fun and making fun of this like dead body in this forest or whatever for the views and all that. So
that was one hated dude.
Yeah, naturally,
he's really good at a wrestler. He's a really good wrestler, but he's a piece of shit.
I always thought it was the boxer was the one that did it. I didn't know.
I'm pretty sure it was Logan.
So is Logan the one that like everybody can't stand?
I don't think anybody can stand either one of them. They're both douchebags.
Yeah, but yeah, like I mean, as an example, I mean it's attracted, even the likes of him,
right.
But yeah, no, it's definitely unfortunate for the families that have gone, that anybody who's lost somebody to suicide is always a tragedy, but especially for like, this location with all of the negative energy and everything, it's no surprise that it kind of ranks top as like a very haunted spot in the world. That's my number one. Which coming in at? What's your number one?
Well, speaking of negative energy and lots of terrible things happening, my number one pick has got to be right in my own backyard, Gettysburg.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't have to tell you, I don't have to probably tell our listeners that Gettysburg is a place that's very near and dear to my heart as it is, but haunted AF.
Always frequent.
I know we did an episode on the Ghost of Gettysburg. I really would like to revisit that because I feel like we left a lot of stuff on the table.
Sure.
So I feel like we could definitely revisit the Ghost of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
But just a quick overview recap. Battle of Gettysburg took place from July 1st to July 3rd in 1863. Estimated 50 to 51,000 casualties. And of course, that doesn't mean they were all dead. That could mean dead, missing, or wounded. It's estimated that about 7,000 deaths happened during the battle, and then about 15,000 wounded for the Union and almost 19,000 wounded for the Confederacy.
That was over the course of like 3 days. Okay, yeah.
So as you can imagine, with that much death and destruction happening over the course of that long and months after, because Gettysburg was just a war-torn hospital essentially at that point. And then just the amount of death there, they would just dig shallow graves, throw bodies in, and then leave them. They would kind of mark out where they were, but they would have mass burial sites, especially for the Confederates, because more or less whoever wins the battle gets to choose what happens to the dead. Unfortunately, for whatever side you were on, if you lost, that was the treatment you essentially got. You got a shallow grave filled to the brim with 40, 50, 60 bodies, Not to mention all the death in the hospitals, like to turn the town into a giant hospital. You had buildings everywhere that were just taken over by Union officers, Confederate officers. If a house existed in 1863 at the time of the battle, more than likely it was going to be used as a field hospital. Like just outside of town, there's the Cashtown Inn, which was a Confederate headquarters, but it was also a hospital after the battle. And down in the basement, you actually take a tour of the Cashtown Inn. Down in the basement was where the hospital was, and because it had a natural spring in the basement. So a fresh water source was always ideal for a hospital.
Sure.
But there's a window looking out the basement. And they said, according to sources, that eventually at some point there were so many arms and legs thrown out the window that blocked out the sun. Like you couldn't see out the window because there were just so many body parts piled up. So
that'd be my luck. Like we go there on like a ghost hunt. I don't see ghosts. I don't see like a spooky apparition. I just get bitch slapped by like a floating hand or kicked in the groin by a floating leg. Just foot.
Yeah. By a Confederate soldier because you're a black guy.
Or like, what are you doing here? Like right in the nuts. Right in the nads. and then I just blow their mind. I mean like, oh, you can't do that anymore. Well, why not? Because it's not nice.
I guess I never thought about it that way.
I'll change my ways, and he just walks off.
Yeah.
He's liberated. Just
like that. He's at ease.
Yeah, who would have thought?
But yeah, you have an all-star kind of lineup of haunted places in Gettysburg. You have the Farnsworth House Inn. You have the Jenny Wade House, the Orphanage, the Dobbin House, again, the battlefield itself, the Cashtown Inn, you've got the Gettysburg Hotel. I mean, there's no shortage of places in Gettysburg that are supposedly and sometimes factually explained to be haunted. So that would have to be my number one pick. Like I said, it's the only place I've ever had my own personal paranormal experience. So how I couldn't put that at the top of my list is it's just not possible.
Yeah,
so
sure. That makes sense.
Gettysburg is my number one pick.
Gotcha.
Again, I'd like to revisit some tales of Gettysburg.
Sure. We can make
the haunted happenings.
Because we've probably haven't even scratched the surface on. We need to talk about our boy
Dan Sickles.
Dan fucking Sickles. Dan Sickles,
the bane of the Union Army.
Dan Sickles.
He almost caused the Union to lose the Battle of Gettysburg.
I get this. That'll be a fun episode to talk about. Good old Danny boy.
I think he haunts the streets of Washington, D.C.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know if I talked about it in our Gettysburg episode about Dan Sickles, but he killed Francis Scott Key's son for cheating on. Supposedly, Francis Scott Key's son was cheating on
his wife. His
wife was having an affair with him.
Yeah,
so he shot him in the middle of the street in D.C. Went to court for it and had temporary insanity. Won the case for killing him.
The more you dig into Dan Sickles, the more he really does sound like an awful person.
Fascinating dude.
But just kind of a low-key piece of shit, but not a piece of shit.
You either love Dan Sickles or you hate Dan
it's
Sickles.
Either love or you hate it. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. I can respect that.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
What's your second pick, my friend?
All right. Numero dos coming in it's not really a haunted per se, not in the traditional sense of, like Gettysburg or whatever, but more of a paranormal hotspot. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come in with Skinwalker Ranch at number 2.
Not to be confused with Skywalker Ranch.
No, it's
George Lucas's private estate.
But I bet you some spooky shit probably goes down there too.
Ghost of Yoda. Well, you just got Force ghosts walking around there. It's nothing new.
Yeah, it's
Obi-Wan, Anakin just hanging out.
I expect that.
Yeah,
I expect that. I'd be more upset if I went there and I didn't see that.
I'd be upset if I seen the ghost of Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
that would upset me.
That would. I would. I'd cry. But so Skinwalker Ranch, as the name implies, it is a ranch that is nestled in the northeastern Utah's Unita, I think that's how you say that, Unita Basin, pretty remote with a long history. Roughly 512 acres of cursed ground, known to the locals as Path of the Skinwalker. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Skinwalker is a Native American shapeshifter, often described as a witch in animal form. It's a shapeshifter, essentially. The Skinwalker legend in Navajo folklore, Skinwalkers are powerful, evil shamans who can take the form of animals and control minds. It is said that they dwell in desolate places, feeding on fear and chaos. And the land around the ranch is believed to be cursed by tribal conflict, and it is a forbidden zone where reality unravels.
Sounds like a Grateful Dead concert.
Yeah. You guys go to the Skinwalker Ranch concert, 96?
Reality just unraveled around me, man.
I thought it was the ranch, but then I realized it was the 5 bags of shrooms that I ingested in the course of 27 minutes.
Oh my God.
I was hearing colors, man. I was hearing fucking colors. But to give you some background and some history. So 1994 through 96, a family known as the Gorman family ended up purchasing, which I believe that's an alias. I don't think that's their actual name, but Tom and Ellen Gorman bought the ranch with dreams of quiet ranching, but instead they were terrorized by the unknown. They experienced cattle mutilations, surgically precise and completely bloodless. So they found these cows just mutilated, but their blood had been drained. Typical mutilation shit. Yeah. This is one I've seen I've heard about this one too. So gigantic wolves, huge wolves, apparently. They had a couple encounters with that, but they were kind of impervious to bullets. There were situations where Tom actually pulled out a revolver and was actually shooting at it. Oh, wow. And it was just, the bullets were just reflecting off of this thing, did not do any damage. Poltergeist activity. So, in their homes, objects just flying off the walls, and things moving by themselves. And of course, seeing lights, strange lights in the sky, portals supposedly opening up in the sky, seeing creatures and crafts. So some good old fashioned UFO activity.
There's a little bit of everything happening down on Skinwalker
Skinwalker Ranch is fucking dope, but it gets better.
Oh.
So
I can only be so erect.
Yeah, right. Get ready for your paranormal hard on. Be satisfied. But even after that, so ranch goes up for sale, and it's bought by Robert Bigelow, who is I'm not sure if he's alive or not still, but an aerospace billionaire and a UFO enthusiast. It was funded, so I'm guessing he had a contract with the government, but it was funded by the U.S. government under a program called AWSAP, AAWSAP, which is part of was a secret program at the Pentagon for UFO research. And in it, scientists investigated the ranch, but then of course they were kind of met with some weird phenomena that happened. Cameras being disabled, camera gear was mysteriously damaged. Scientists reported shadowy entities, invisible predators, and mental manipulation. Whatever the fuck that means.
They're mind fucking.
I wrote some things down and then I fucking forgot it.
I just remembered the things yesterday.
What just happened? Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Mental manipulation.
And just a lot of other crazy experiences. I think currently now it's owned privately. Yeah. So in 2016, real estate mogul Brandon Brandon purchased it, and it's now under 24/7 surveillance. There's actually a show, I think it's on the History Channel, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and it's just a bunch of paranormal enthusiasts, pretty much just trying to figure out everything. They put cameras up and they're trying to investigate shit. There's somebody, I want to say a couple episodes they brought in people from Ancient Aliens.
Oh, of course they did.
The kind of
of course they did.
I want to say, I've seen a couple. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it. It's pretty funny.
I've wanted to watch it, and I've just never gotten around to it.
Like the drama that kind of just unfolds. It's literally we can't put sensors over there. You guys aren't doing it. It's my ranch. We can do what the fuck I want to do. It's just drama back and forth.
Is it as ridiculous or less ridiculous as Bigfoot Expedition?
It's
Bobo and then went squatching.
It's a little bit more serious than that. There ain't no instances of he talks in a deep voice like this and he asked me for garlic, and it's not like that. They're actually trying to get to the bottom of it, but it's they're fighting over the logistics. You guys went out there without my permission. How dare you? God damn it. Just stuff like that. But yeah, no, some pretty crazy shit. It's pretty crazy shit that goes down at Skinwalker.
Nice.
Someday I'd like to go there and disappear.
That's your ultimate goal. Just go and disappear at Skinwalker Ranch.
If not there, the Vatican.
The Vatican?
I bet you they got some crazy shit in the Vatican archives.
I'm sure they do, but why do you want to disappear there?
Because I'm going to find the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh.
And I'm going to go find all the secrets that the Vatican's holding. I'm only assuming I would disappear because they're not going to let me leave.
You find the Shroud of Jesus and
I'm all right, you found it, but now you can't leave.
Jesus is just down there, just hanging out.
I've been alive this whole time.
Sipping on a Slurpee from 7-Eleven. Hey.
It's got the shades on.
Yeah, he looks like the Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski, what's up? Yeah.
Have you been down here this whole time?
Yeah.
Just chilling.
No one ever thought to look down That's my number 2.
Things are really bad out there.
Don't you think you should get out there and do something?
Hey, as soon as my phone rings, it's got the little red phone that says from Dad. As soon as that phone rings and the big guy tells me to do it, I'll be back. But so far, haven't gotten the call.
I really think you should get up there. There's some crazy shit going on right now.
Yeah, but MLB The Show 25 just came out. I'm kind of involved in that. So.
I got a game tonight.
With my second pick, I'm going to go with Edinburgh, Scotland, the basis of the Harry Potter universe, the Castle Supreme, the haunted castles there. They've got a lot of crazy shit happening in Edinburgh. It's supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Europe.
No bullshit. So I think if I were to go to Europe first, I'd start with the Mediterranean, Rome and parts of
obviously the Vatican.
I mean, I think like Vatican's like Europe 51 area, but basically Europe 51
Holy hell.
is like the Vatican equivalent of like Area 51 for me. Like if I don't go missing in Area 51 in the States, look at the Vatican.
Looking for Europe 51. Gotcha.
But Edinburgh definitely is up there. A place not even for the paranormal shit. Just they do like the military tattoo. Yeah, it'd be cool to visit the castle itself.
Yeah, I want to take because I know they do like the Hogwarts Express thing. Yeah, like I want to do that so bad because that's like what Diagon Alley and all that stuff was based on. I think.
Was any of it filmed in Edinburgh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the train that they like take the Hogwarts, like the Scottish Highlands or whatever. That's like right outside of
Edinburgh. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So a couple of things to touch on for Edinburgh. You have Greyfriars Kirkland that has multiple paranormal things happening in it. You have the Mackenzie Poltergeist, which is perhaps the most famous Edinburgh ghost story, involving the spirit of George Mackenzie, a ruthless persecutor of Presbyterians in the 17th century. Since 1999, the graveyard has seen increasingly chilling paranormal activity, including a homeless man fleeing the graveyard after breaking into Mackenzie's mausoleum. I can only imagine what he's seen when he broke into it. Maybe Mackenzie was in there like just like half skeleton, but just like standing up, walking around.
Maybe. I don't know. Dude, I never got the whole concept of grave robbing. I get the lucrative part of it.
Yeah.
I understand like the monetary like aspect of it.
People were buried with riches and treasures.
Sure. But you have to be pretty fucking low.
Yeah. I would not want that karma following me around.
Right? Just to stoop that low. I don't care how desperate you are. That's some low life shit right there.
So as a result of the paranormal activity, Edinburgh City Council chose to close off a part of the graveyard with the exception of a few chosen tour companies. Many of those buried in Greyfriars Churchyard were Covenanters who died while imprisoned in the nearby Tolbooth prison or were executed for their beliefs. So a bunch of Presbyterians must have been executed nearby, and now they're all hanging out haunting the graveyard. Yeah. Greyfriars Churchyard. You also have Edinburgh Castle, which is probably one of the, outside of Leap Castle, maybe one of the most iconic. The castle has a long and violent history, with many visitors reporting seeing apparitions and shadowy figures, as well as being touched or pushed by unexplained forces. One of the most famous ghosts is the Headless Drummer, a soldier who was punished for cowardice by having his head cut off. Visitors have reported hearing the sound of a drum beat echoing through the empty halls and other ghostly apparitions. Not to mention, you also have underground vaults. You have vaults located beneath the streets of Old Town, specifically under the arches of the South Bridge. The vaults were once a refuge for the city's poorest inhabitants and were filled with disease, crime, and poverty. Today, they are known for ghostly apparitions and strange noises that echo through the dark corridors.
When you say vault, I think of
a bank vault?
Or, yeah. So when you're describing as it was a place for the, poverty stricken and it was filled with disease, like they were throwing poor people into these vaults, or were like these vaults like a refuge for these poor people to run to when shit got crazy in Edinburgh?
I feel like they're probably
or maybe at one,
like it's specifically like Old Town, like Victorian England and stuff. They would constantly have kind of like alleys that would go down and like just long alleyways and like kind of like just underground tunnels.
Okay.
But built for, I could be totally wrong if this is not right. Please feel free to comment or whatever, call me out on this. But I feel like they were built under the city for the lower class people, poverty people to be, so that the upper class people could walk the streets without having to see them.
That is a theory I would not put it past you.
It's like, well, we can't do anything with them, so we might as well just put them out of sight so I don't have to look at this anymore. Like they can have their own place and they can be as fucked up as they want down there, but up here we're good.
That's a very strong possibility. And if anybody knows the truth behind that, this is just complete speculation. We have no idea what. Yeah. Please feel free to comment and let us know.
Like there's tours and stuff that you can take of the vaults.
Yeah.
Just looking at just a quick little glance, Visit Scotland has a vaults tour where you can visit the vaults beneath Old Town dating back to the early 18th century. They'll tell you about the murders, the persecution of witches, and the people who inhabited this scary place. Yeah, so even this doesn't really, it just says learn how the vaults have been used over the years and the living conditions endured by the poor and homeless residents who frequented them. So it could be anybody's guess on what the vaults were actually used for, but more or less they were there for the homeless and whatnot to inhabit. But that's just like the very, 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 very tip of that iceberg.
Sure.
So there's plenty of other stuff in Edinburgh. Again, considered one of the most haunted places in Europe. So
that's a whole episode in itself.
Oh, multi-episode. Yeah. Multi-episode. But Edinburgh Skyline, that's my number 2 pick.
Number 2 or number 3?
That was number 2. Gettysburg and Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, all right. Cool.
Combine them, it's Gettysburg.
Edinburgh.
All right, let's go number 3, Nick.
All right, number 3, still keeping in the States. I'm coming in with the Amityville Horror.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think is another paranormal hotspot. I think anybody in the U.S., but not just
in the continental
US,
United States.
Internationally, too.
Yeah.
I think
thanks to the movies.
Yeah, if you say the word Amityville, I think it's common, knowledge.
To put horror after it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the Amityville house in New York, for those of you who are unaware of and haven't heard of it, it is an actual location. So it's a real residence in New York. On November 13th, 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family. He killed them execution style. His mom, his dad, his sister, and I believe his two younger brothers. Yeah, his 2 younger brothers. So his entire family. Shot them all once, with the exception of the parents, who I believe they were shot twice. And there's speculation as to why he did it. He's claiming insanity was the reason why he did it, saying that he heard demonic voices and they were urging him to kill.
I was going to say, I thought it was a demonic possession, or that's what he claimed. He claimed it was demonic possession.
There's a lot, like if you read through the story, there's a lot of speculation. Then he tried to say that, I sedated them and that's what. But then they're like, well, we found no sign of a struggle. Like they weren't sedated or anything like that. You kind of just murdered them execution style. And then he was like, oh, well, it wasn't actually me that did it. It was my sister. And then my mom tried to shoot my sister, but then I killed my mom because I didn't want her saying anything bad about my dad, whose brother was like a mobster or something.
Just imagine the jury just sitting there like, right.
So yeah, that whole thing of his background is like why he. But what really made it, outside of the true crime aspect of it, what also brought it national attention was in 1975 the Lutz family purchased a home and moved in, but they fled apparently after 28 days. And of course, they experienced green slime oozing from the wall.
Oh, wait, they always do that.
Yeah, exactly. Kathy Lutz supposedly experienced levitating. George waking at 3:15 a.m., the time of the murders. Disembodied voices and apparitions. Just your stereotypical spooky shit.
Yeah. Am I right in saying this is where George and Lorraine Warren got their claim to fame?
I don't.
Was it them?
So they were,
or did they do something? Because they're like the Conjuring movies too, a little bit. I think, right?
Yeah, that's them. And
but they're like the grandparents of paranormal.
Pretty much like ghost investigations, and demonic hauntings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I want to say one of the Conjuring movies. That's how it starts out.
Right.
It's it shows her background as to what she can do and how she can do it, and it references her experience at Amityville. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as you had mentioned, Ed and Lorraine Warren kind of came. I don't want to say they came to spotlight. I think they already were
they were
semi-famous.
On the rise, but this was one of their big cases.
Yeah. Many claims it was a hoax, but the family, they passed polygraph tests, which, I mean, honestly, that doesn't mean shit. But,
it's true. You can be a really good liar.
It's not even a lie detector test. It's a physical, because a lie is
reaction.
It's a reaction. Like a lie is not like a tangible thing that you can measure. It's like a subjective thing.
Right.
So I always thought that was bullshit. And the fact that those are still admissible in court blows my fucking mind. But whatever. Of course, it's inspired many books and films. There was Ryan Reynolds. They had he was in one. I think the modern.
No, that's not right.
No. So there was the Ed and Lorraine, like The Conjuring, where they kind of reference Amityville.
Well, they were like the main characters, like through the movies.
Yeah, yeah, they're like it's like from their perspective, but then there's another modern Amityville horror movie where Ryan Reynolds is in.
Oh, okay.
And I think I think he's the dad or the brother.
Okay.
I don't know, but today the house is still there. The address has changed, but no further hauntings have happened since then. But of course, they've made like the movie, the Amityville Horror, pretty much like brought this to to fame. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, read the book, watch the movie. It's kind of become like a cult classic in like the world of horror movies at this point. But yeah, definitely number 3. It's like up there with like I said, anybody in the paranormal community. You mentioned Amityville, they're gonna know what you're talking about.
Exactly, for sure. That's
my number 3. What you got?
I think I'll join you sticking with houses.
Okay. You're talking about a monster house, right? Like the movie?
No.
The giant house that turns alive?
No.
Constance!
I'm talking about maybe one of the most famous murder houses in the world. The Lizzie Borden House.
Okay. Cool.
Located in Fall River, Massachusetts.
I'm
pretty sure, again, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you probably know the Lizzie Borden story and the Lizzie Borden House. But just a brief background. As you all know, the house gained infamy in 1892 when Andrew and Abby Borden were brutally murdered with an axe, and their daughter, Lizzie Borden, was accused but never convicted. What's that rhyme? Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her father 40 whacks. Something like
that, yeah. If you say it in the mirror, supposedly she shows up, right?
I mean, could be. That sounds more Bloody Mary to me.
Basically that, essentially that, but yeah. Okay.
Visitors report shadowy figures, whispers, and footsteps. Some have claimed to see shadowy figures moving around the rooms. Unexplained whispers and footsteps have been heard throughout the house. Objects have been reported to move on their own, such as rocking chairs and wind-up toys. Some guests have reported feeling a presence in the room, with some even feeling touched or having their comforters pulled. The Lizzie Borden House does offer ghost tours, and you can stay the night there. It's a bed and breakfast, I think.
I'd go.
Yeah, I would too.
I would just experience it,
I was actually watching just to kind of not really prepare for today's episode, but just as a refresher. There's a really good documentary if you have Max. They used to do them on Discovery Channel. I don't know if it's still Discovery or not, but it's called Shock Docs. And it's part documentary, part paranormal investigation.
Okay.
And the pictures that they show, kind of the background of like what happened in the house, absolutely brutal. Like if you want to look that stuff up, look at it by your own accord. But I think they said that Andrew, she allegedly, Lizzie Borden never got convicted of killing her parents, but he had 42 hacks from the axe in his face. Like his face was pretty much chopped clean off.
I was gonna say, like, what's left?
There was like nothing left. Yeah, there was like nothing. It was like a bloody stump of a head, and like.
Wait, you can find photos?
Yeah. So you're gonna look them up.
Reddit.
Just completely mutilated bodies, but some people have also claimed to feel demonic presences there. Just based on that documentary. They've done EVP work. They've had voices reach out and say Satan is pretty much in the building. And it's maybe theorized that Lizzie Borden could have been possessed by the devil to kill her family. But again, nobody ever knew. Nobody knows. That remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the United States, I think, of who killed Lizzie Borden's family.
I'm not going to find it. I thought if I searched it on Reddit, it would pop up pretty, Oh, that photo. Okay, yeah, that I have.
That's just like one of them. They're not great photos, obviously, because this was late 1800s.
This is like some real, this is like crime scene investigation.
Yeah. At its infancy.
The Jurassic Park years.
But just crazy how, again, there's nothing left of these people's faces. Mm-hmm. So.
Rightfully so. You try having your face survive after 40 hacks. 40
slaps from an. But yeah, Lizzie Borden House. I would definitely go, and I don't know if I would want to stay the night because that would maybe freak me out a little bit. Maybe a little. I definitely would. I mean, if I'm going to go with a group of people and we're going to stay up all night to ghost hunt, that's one thing. But just go and hang out for the evening, no, I don't think so. I think I'm good on that one. But I'm down to clown when it comes to the Lizzie Borden town. So number 3, Lizzie Borden House. Let's hear number 4, Nick.
Number 4 for me, Gangnam Psychiatric Hospital in South Korea, located in the Gwangju province in South Korea. It's an abandoned psychiatric facility that was shut down in the 1990s. Rumored that patients died here mysteriously and that the director vanished. There was a very haunted room in the hospital called Room 402. It's said to be the most haunted room in there, where visitors report nausea, dread, and being pushed. It is said that you can hear disembodied voices, cold spots, and the sound of dragging footsteps. Urban explorers document apparitions and objects moving on their own. So, stereotypical poltergeist activity. Mm-hmm. It inspired the 2018 horror film Gangnam Haunted Asylum. And it's declared one of the most haunted places in the world by CNN Travel and Thrillist. And I believe it is considered the most, it could be wrong, but the most haunted place in Korea.
Oh, wow.
It was demolished in 2018, but locals still report supernatural events near the site.
Interesting. A place so haunted that even when they knock it down, it's still haunted.
But we should, if we ever get the chance, we should watch the film. But it's a 2018, like I said, South Korean film, and it's one of those found footage movies or whatever.
Like Blair Witch Project?
Basically. And it's based on a real-life psychiatric hospital of the same name. And it centers around a horror web series crew that travels to the abandoned asylum for live broadcasts, and then everything just goes to shit. And just to give you some context, they reference Room 402. A ping pong ball is suddenly thrown at them, followed by the screams of one of the crew members inside room 402. The group's infrared cameras detect a presence, and the door finally opens. And then they find themselves trapped in this dark, water-filled room with no exit. Ghostly apparitions surround and possess them one by one. And of course, he sees the view count of I guess they're doing a live stream and just starts racking up or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, oh my fucking God. So it's one of those things where it's kind of just like Amityville Horror, where, a real place was, it turned into an act, fictionalized. And of course, it caused some controversy. Before the release of the film, the owner of the asylum filed a lawsuit against them.
Oh,
wow. Against the film being shown in theaters, claiming that the film will have negative effects on the sale of the building. However, a civil court late in March 2018 ruled in favor of the film being shown. 28th of May of 2018, the actual location was demolished.
Wow.
I wouldn't mind revisiting this in a future episode, because I kind of want to explore a little bit more deeper.
For sure.
But yeah, now when I was doing my research, I kind of typed in what are just some of the most international top 100 haunted places in the world, and this one was I think in the top 10 or something like that.
Damn.
I'd never heard of it prior to this.
I haven't either.
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
So that's my number 3.
Definitely should take a look into that one.
It's number 4. Number 4.
That's number 4.
Number 4. What you got?
Number 4. My number 4 is maybe. So the rest of mine are United States haunts.
Yeah.
But this one is typically regarded as one of the most haunted places in America as well. Ghost hunters have been there. I feel like the Ghost Adventures crew has been there, but I don't really give a fuck about the Ghost Adventures people.
Is that the guy who's always
that's
Mike Haler?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Zach, whatever. But the ghost hunters, who I do respect, like Jason and Grant and all those guys, they were there, and they've had some instances. Steve Gonzalez actually wrote about this place in his book. I'm referring to the Myrtles Plantation, located in St. Francisville, Louisiana. As you can imagine, being a plantation, it's filled to the brim of spooky stuff, but because of so much tragedy and human suffrage was there. So basically, there's few things that potentially can be haunting. So apparently, this is an alleged story, I believe. I don't know if there's any factual evidence to support this story. But the long and the short of it is the owners who bought the house or owned the plantation owned numerous house slaves and regular slaves. And one of the house slaves was named Chloe, and she was constantly getting abused by the family, or the patriarch of the family.
Sure.
She tried to protect herself from the abuse by listening in on their conversations and modifying her behavior. And then one day, after being caught eavesdropping, the owner had Chloe's ears cut off.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Forcing her to carry the shame and disfigurement the rest of her life. Her mutilation was hidden at the request of the owners by the use of a green turban. No one would see the terrifying mark, but the painful experience would stay with Chloe and inspire her to make plans for revenge. Basically, her revenge came on the 9th birthday of the owner's daughter. She placed poisonous oleander leaves into the daughter's cake, hoping that she would just make them sick so that she could, quote unquote, nurse them back to health, because back then healers or medicine people were highly regarded. So if she was able to heal them, she was going to be pretty much free of abuse. She was going to be highly respected, be kept around.
Change their mindset or whatever.
A little bit, yeah. But she puts way too much in, and it ended up actually killing the wife of the owner and the 2 children. So Chloe was caught, like they figured out that she had been the one to do that to him.
Yeah.
So after the word spread of her actions to the plantation, the other slaves were the ones to take revenge. Chloe was hanged by the neck for everyone to witness until the life was drained from her body. She was then weighed down by rocks and thrown into the Mississippi River. After Chloe's death, the new owners, a wealthy family man and his 5 children, would pass away from tuberculosis on the property. The home was later passed to one of his surviving daughters and her husband, the Winters. Mr. Winter was a proud member of his community and did his part by teaching Sunday school at his home. One day, as Mr. Winter was teaching, an unknown man rode up on a horse yelling to see him. As he came out to address the man, he was shot at point-blank range on his front porch. He retreated into the home and staggered up the stairs to eventually die in the arms of his wife. So basically, this plantation's been the scene of a lot of
tragedy,
shit. A lot
trauma.
of shit. Yeah. So the sound of his strong and forceful stomps still linger in the home today as visitors report hearing heavy footsteps from empty staircases. Of course, they also claim to see the apparition of a woman in a green turban, aka Chloe, walking around the property. In one instance, there actually is a photo where you can kind of make out the image of a woman standing in kind of like an alley I'll show you the picture, Nick.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you can kind of see that was sent as an insurance picture. They were getting quotes for insurance and they didn't mean to find anything, but they did. There's an antique mirror inside the grand hallway just outside of the dining room. Visitors report seeing Woodruff's children appear in the mirror, and the Woodruffs were the original owners. Children appear in the mirror near the room where they were poisoned. One researcher noted that each time the mirror was placed or resilvered, the same handprint reappears as if they refuse to be ignored. There's also multiple apparitions being cited out by the slave quarters, like shadow figures and stuff like that, walking back and forth, voices out there, and just generally a hotspot for haunted happenings. So Myrtle's Plantation is going to be my number 4 pick.
Cool.
Another place that I'd like to dig into a little bit.
Dude,
more.
Absolutely. These kinds of episodes are great because in our research, it allows us to find new spots that we haven't even heard of, which just opens up, more opportunity for us to really dive deeper into. We'll be experts by the time this is done. Like, oh yeah, you never heard of that place?
Right?
That's some wild shit went down there. That shit was crazy.
All right, buddy. Well, we're getting down to our last pick, so let's bring it home with our final draft picks.
Gotcha. Okay. For my number 5, and I can't really speak to how haunted this place actually is, but it also popped up in that list, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And this one kind of hits a little bit close to home. So apparently, off of the coast of Panama, there is...
For all of our listeners out there that don't know, Nick is part Panamanian.
Yeah, it's actually off the coast of Cherokee, which I went there when I was a kid. But it is called Coiba. I think that's it. Coiba National Park. It's COIBA, Coiba National Park. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was designated so in 2005, and I believe it is the largest island, or at least one of the largest islands in Central America. And like I said, it's off of the coast of Panama. Kind of like Australia, it was a penal colony from 1919 up until 1919 up until 2004.
We're adults here.
And it remained off limits to the public for decades. It's actually really beautiful as an island because it was a penal colony, and it was so isolated. Not a whole lot has actually. It's still pretty much like a natural. There really hasn't been much human influence there. So it's really popular for ecotourism now, scuba diving, things like that. Lots of conservation material there. I think it covers about 430,825 acres of land and marine area. But what makes it so spooky is that it was once called the Devil's Islands of the Americas. And like I said, it was a prison island. and it housed Panama's most dangerous criminals, rapists, political prisoners, and dangerous criminals. It was kind of run more like a lawless exile than a prison. One thing I thought was really weird was, I noticed I need to look more into it, but the guards would actually lock themselves in at night.
Oh, shit.
And the prisoners could roam free.
Oh, wow.
Because they're thinking, where the fuck are they going to go? We're 15 miles off of the coast,
Right. If they're going to swim, they're just going to die.
They're going to drown. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Literally, it's like the Panamanian, Alcatraz.
Right.
Whereas, Alcatraz, there's a chance you could survive because you're just swimming across the
Bay of San Francisco.
The Bay of San Francisco.
San Francisco, I think.
And you can still see the city, the coastline.
Right. It's not likely you're going to make it, but there's a chance.
But yeah, there's a slim chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
For this, no, you're 15 miles off of the coast, out in the ocean. There's no way that
right.
So yeah, the guards would lock themselves in at night, and the prisoners would just roam free. Manuel Noriega, he supposedly, people, when he was dictator there in the 80s and 90s, a lot of people would go missing on this island. So if you pissed off the wrong person, anybody against his regime, you would be taken to this island, and a lot of people were just never heard from again, presumably taken there and tortured and killed or whatever.
Right.
There's a building there called La Casa de los Muertos, or the House of the Dead. It's supposed to be a hotspot for spiritual activity. It's, Panama is a tropical area, so the weather's fairly warm, but there's instances of just cold spots instantly hitting you, and it's whoa, what the fuck is that?
Okay.
It's 90 degrees out here. Now
right.
all of a sudden it's 20 degrees. Visitors and rangers report disembodied voices. The wildlife, kind of there are instances where, birds will just are always chirping, but they just go silent. Oh, monkeys will be out there sounding off and then just silent. And it's kind of wait, what is that? Why
did everybody stop talking?
Why did everybody stop talking kind of thing? A lot of unmarked graves there because, they just didn't, unfortunately, prisoners, they're people too, but when you're a prisoner, you're kind of seen not as a person, kind of like a number or an animal. So they really don't put a lot of emphasis in giving you a proper burial. So there's unmarked graves on the islands, probably pits where they just threw people in there. Because
just like earlier in the episode, Gettysburg, just mass body graves or mass graves of bodies.
And much like the suicide force in Japan, it's just an island that is surrounded with dark and negative energy, and they say that aura is just feeding on itself.
It's I say, walking in there, it just feels different.
Yeah,
getting smacked in the head with a wet towel.
Wildlife apparently avoids certain parts of the island, so that's kind of a red flag per se. Like I said, birds going quiet, monkeys vanishing without a sound. There was an instance of because the military patrols it still, and you have to get I think you have to get special permission to go there. But one of the military officers that was in an interview was saying one of his reports underneath him was walking and turned around. There was this 8 foot tall, hairy, shadowy figure kind of trailing behind him. He starts turning back around, keeps looking at it. And it took 2 or 3 times for the thing to finally disappear. They were doing night patrols, and the beds started rattling and shaking, and they're all kind of freaking the fuck out. So
damn.
I kind of want to dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I believe if that was a place where Noriega was sending off people opposed to his regime, I'm sure there was some crazy shit that went down there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of hush hush.
Yeah. You go there, you're never being heard from again,
Exactly.
So yeah, that's definitely my number 5. Not because I don't think it's haunted, but because given the other spots that I looked at, I feel those other ones kind of take precedence over that, but I'm sure this is probably just as haunted as a hotspot.
Well, and plus, like you said, it's close to home for you.
So I want to ask my mom or my grandma, have you ever heard of this island? I'm kind of curious to see what she's like. Oh, that place, fuck that place.
Oh, no, Nick, you don't want to know about that.
No,
we're
not talking about
this shit.
Yeah. So
what was it called again?
It is called Coiba Island, Coiba. I looked at it first. I thought it was Cohiba, the cigars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. But no, it's Coiba.
Nice. Well, that's a solid list there from you, buddy.
You know what? Now that I say that, Coiba. It might be Cueva.
Cueva.
I think I remember stories of my grandma talking off the island of Cueva. I think that might be that what it is.
So, okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
There you go.
I'm going to ask him. I got to call her.
Well, rounding out my top 5, is a place also very near and dear to my heart. But since I've already been there, it's not like a top. I just want to go back. But none other than Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
The witch city, the place where the infamous in 1692 witch trials happened. Another place that is shrouded in darkness and bad energy, but has really kind of, I guess did like a total 180 in terms of, because now everybody that lives in Salem and people just love going to Salem. It's kind of like
it's a nice town.
It's a beautiful town. It's got some good vibes there. Like
it's like the perfect fall town to go to if you ever get a chance.
Minus the crowds.
Yeah, because it is like a hotspot because we went and we've experienced it.
Yeah. So you have multiple places being haunted there. Like we said, like any New England kind of town is going to be steeped in American history. Yeah. Salem being one of the first settlements kind of lends some credence to just a lot of horrors happening and obviously being capped with the 1692 witch trials. But there was a great fire there. There was many other just things that people always it's the curse of Giles Corey or whatever, as bad things would happen to the town. Yeah. But just as far as going to a place where not just going for the haunted part, but just going for the spooky vibes. Sure. You can't get better than Salem. We did a ghost hunt there and it was fucking awesome.
It was cool. It was legit. It was awesome.
I still don't know how the pendant thing worked. Remember the stone and you think about you could think yes and it would turn one way and you could think no and it would turn the other way. I still don't know how that worked.
The spiritual answer, spooky stuff. The the scientific answer, I don't know, but a combination of gravity and centrifugal force.
But you could hang the pendant above your hand. You remember the pendants?
Yeah.
And you could think yes and it would turn right, for instance. And then you could think no, and it would stop and start turning the other way. It's how does that, does your magnetic field change when you think of a different emotion or some shit?
Maybe, I don't know.
That was honestly more baffling to me than any paranormal thing that could have happened. I was how is this rock doing this?
Yeah, what is happening? What is the
spirit stone trying to tell me?
Oh, yeah, I'm being bamboozled.
The girl down in the basement getting reached out to by her grandmother.
Oh yeah,
whatever it was.
That whole experience. That was
crazy. That was a tearjerker a little bit.
I was like, oof. I hope you found your peace and your closure.
A little bit, yeah. But can't wait to go back to Salem, man. I'm craving a trip to Salem. It doesn't have to be during Halloween or anything, but I'm just ready to go back. I'm just ready to go back and see the city again.
Just to go get a boat.
And there's nothing I can say about Salem that hasn't already been said haunting wise. We kind of covered Salem a little bit in an episode, but that's another one that I'd like to go back to and kind of dig more into more focused ghost stories instead of just a general focused or a general ghost town.
For sure.
So, the Witch Memorial is apparently super haunted. The Charter Street Cemetery, Old Burial Point, Proctor's Ledge, Gallows Hill, all those places are allegedly super haunted. And
that's where I'd want to go check out is Gallows Hill. We didn't get a chance to, but
we didn't. But it's because Proctor's Ledge has now been the confirmed place where the hangings occurred. Yeah. Gallows Hill was the first place they thought that it happened. So nothing really up there, I can imagine, would really be significant in terms of a haunting.
Sure.
But, just good spooky vibes up there. Just love that shit.
That was a good time. For sure. I definitely would like to go back eventually.
Yeah. But that's my top 5. Or our top 5. That's our haunted.
Our haunted experience or haunted draft kind of situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So happy 30th episode.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward. I love the show.
Again, it's surreal that we've actually recorded 30 episodes.
Right.
That we've stuck with it and kept going.
For sure. And I'm curious to see where we're going to be in a year from now, 2 years from now. I'd like to keep it going and finding new topics. And we'd love to hear from you guys too. For our fan base that's slowly getting larger, I'm tracking the metrics and we can see that we're getting more downloads. So we know that we're reaching out to somebody out there.
And share with your friends. Tell you, that's the best way we can gain our listenership is through word of mouth. Just tell people that there's a couple of goofy dudes riffing on paranormal stuff. And if you're into that kind of thing, let them know. And, we're just going to keep doing our thing.
Yeah.
on a personal note, I think this Saturday, if you're in the Hagerstown area, we're going somewhere, right?
We're going to be at Thick and Thin. There's the Cryptid and Curiosities Market. So it's Saturday, April 12th. And it's from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And yeah, we're going to be there, have a couple brewskis. We have few stickers, but kind of just pass out the few stickers that we have, but really kind of just explore and maybe
just try to network a little bit. If we have any listeners out there that want to meet us,
for sure,
that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. But yeah, we'll be there for a little bit on Saturday.
We'll be there rocking our Shadows and Sightings shirts, so you'll know how to find us.
Yep. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I want to find other opportunities where we can kind of go to network a little bit, bring some more merch next time, and kind of go from there. So,
yeah, for sure.
That'd be cool.
So again, thank you everybody who have stuck with us for however many episodes you might have listened to, if this is your first episode or if this is your 30th episode. From ourselves and our cryptic army. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. And until next time, we'll see you then when we talk about all things spooky.